Okay, there we go. Chapter 20, The Body of Christopher Creed. Whoopsies. There we go. My mom was sitting at her desk in her study when we got home. I noticed her ink pen wasn't flying. She was just staring into space. What's up? I asked. She shut her eyes and pinched the bridge of her nose with her fingers in a way I didn't like. Sit down, she told us. We sat, watched her rock and sigh. It seems that Bo announced to Chief Bowen that the man's children know about his affair last year. Ah, he's so stupid sometimes, Allie cringed. It was bad enough he said it to Renee. Well, he told me that he thought Renee Bowen had run home and told her father as soon as she and Alex heard it. He thought he was telling Chief Bowen something he already knew. Let's say he was half stupid. So what did Chief Bowen do? Allie demanded. As Mom told it, Chief Bowen's life went down the drain when Bo said that to him. He had been trying for years to keep his troubles under his hat, but now he felt like the town would know tomorrow. Bo said it so heartlessly, and he had already repeated it that way to one of Chief Bowen's own kids. Darrell lost his temper and hit Bo about 6 times, my mom said, rubbing the bridge of her nose in that tired way. There were 2 other officers present, and they saw the whole thing. I'm sure they would have kept the dirty little secret, but despite what you may think of him, Chief Bowen is not all bad. He resigned at 6 o'clock. Allie and I sat there frozen. Chief Bowen had been chief of police since I could remember. I tried not to think about that. No point to it, except that it would make me crazy. Bo was really bad with authority figures, that much we knew. But he only brought up to Chief Bowen what he thought the man already knew. Did he break any bones? Did he really hurt Bo? Allie asked. Bo's got a couple of black eyes, but nothing is broken. He'll be okay. But he's not helping his image at all. Even police are human. They really hate him. They would love to find evidence to convict him on this charge and send him off to someplace worse than Egg Harbor. Never have to deal with him again. I thought about this Egg Harbor place. There were mean kids in there. Brian used to pass on stories to me from his dad about the kids up there. There was a kid in there for raping his own sister. There were violent schizophrenics, drug addicts, juvenile sex offenders, along with a general population of law-breaking teenagers. I was glad Bo was pretty big, but I was scared a bunch of messed up kids could get at him if they wanted to. I thought of Bo saving Allie from her mother's weird boyfriend. Now he had his back to the wall with people even crazier. I'll get him out on Monday, Mom said it almost in a whisper. I'm still pretty confident that he will never be charged concerning Chris. How do you know? Allie asked with a shaking voice. Because I think Chris Creed is alive. She leaned forward, took hold of that pen of hers, and brushed the feather under her nose. She looked off into space in a way that made me curious and confused. I muttered, "We saw a psychic tonight." She shut her eyes slowly, and when she reopened them, they were glaring right at me with what my friends always called the look. It could boil you. She always told me that you made your own future, and that psychics could make you fatalistic. Not only that, but a fake could really mess you up. We didn't mean to see her, we just sort of fell into it, I blabbered under her gaze. We went to visit this girl Chris used to know. She took us. At any rate, the psychic said Chris is dead in the woods. She says he shot himself. She rolled her eyes off to the side in a way that read complete disgust. Finally, she sighed. Well, I'm not psychic, but I'm your mother. Do I rank in there somewhere? Yeah, I said. Chris Creed is not dead in the woods. I can take my paycheck to the bank on that one. I stared at her tired face. What makes you so sure? Because I've lived here my whole life, and I know the people here pretty well. Glenn Ames told me you had a conversation with Sylvia Creed yesterday. She may have been relentless, Tori, but what that boils down to is survival. People will do and think whatever it is they have to in order to survive. I feel that Chris probably learned his bad social skills from Sylvia, but he also learned from her to be a survivor. She muttered in a soft but firm way. When he disappeared, I just knew in my gut, like I know this town, like I know the Creeds. Sylvia Creed is far from perfect, but her life didn't kill her. Digger Haynes's life didn't kill him. I'm not a psychic, but I know pretty well, and my feeling is, Chris Creed is alive. I sure hope you're right, Allie said. He could still show up tomorrow, my mom put in, though it seemed not likely to me. Creed was becoming like a vapor, a myth or a legend or something. I kept waking up all night over these weird dreams. I think the psychic caused it all. I kept seeing myself walking up on those three rocks in the Indian burial ground and seeing Creed's dead body. I must have dreamed it 6 times. Each time something different was gross about the body. Once his eyeballs were missing, once his feet were missing, once I turned the body over and it wasn't Creed, it was Alex. Around 5 o'clock, I just decided that being asleep was too much of a pain in the ass, and I sat up and watched some infomercial for slimming down your buns. By the time Allie got up, I had a headache and thought my eyelids weighed 5 pounds each. I was trying to eat oatmeal at the table, but it tasted like paste. Allie said to me, "You're having a normal response. I would have dreamed the same kind of things if the psychic told me I would find him when I was alone. But don't forget, your mom says he's alive." She smiled. I'd like to believe that. I think my mom can be totally smart about people. It's just hard when she's giving me her gut feeling and that stupid psychic is giving me everything but the weather. "You will find him shot through the head on a primitive grave. There are other graves around, but this one is marked with 3 large rocks." The psychic's voice shot through my head. I've been hearing it all night long. "Maybe we should just go down and look," I told her. Her eyebrows arched up, and I guess she was remembering how stubborn I had been the night before about not going. "I don't feel like I have much choice, Allie. Not if I want to sleep again. I can just see myself having these dreams over and over until I see with my own eyes." "I'll go with you. You know that," she squirmed. "But, I finished for her. What about the part where I would be alone when I found him?" "Yeah." She gazed at me uncomfortably. I knew I wasn't going down there by myself. Dead bodies don't get up and walk. I don't care what she says. Didn't she say she never claims to be, 100% accurate? Allie nodded. Something like that. I'll go. Maybe when you see there's nothing there, you can come home and take a nice long nap. That sounded like reason enough to go. The path to the burial ground had tall trees on either side that threw shadows despite the sun. I wasn't nervous. I think I was too exhausted. The clearing was up ahead. I slowed down. About 20 feet from the edge of the path, I stopped entirely. Something came over me, a bad feeling, almost like a wave. "Let's not," I whispered. Allie just stood there, staring straight into the clearing. The rocks were off to the left, where you couldn't see them. "Did you ever hear about this place, Allie? You know how the pine trees grow like wildfire? Well, they don't grow in that clearing. Nobody's ever been able to figure out why not." "I see little pine trees in there," she whispered back. "Baby ones, but they all seem to keel over and die when they hit like 2 feet high. The Indians used to consider babies next to sacred. One rumor had it their ghosts wouldn't breathe death on the trees until they were no longer baby trees." "You wanted me to go by myself?" You want me to go by myself? Her voice shook. "No." I tried to tell myself I was being superstitious. I took a few more steps, just enough so that I could crane my neck to see the first rock. It leaned against the second too, but I only had a clear view of the first. It gleamed in the sun, in the dead silence of the morning. "Allie, don't leave me, okay?" "Why would I leave you?" "I don't know. I don't want to be alone." And then boom, the body drops out of a tree or something. "There's no trees in there," she reminded me. "But yeah, I understand." I still didn't move. I was trying to get my nerve, but she took a breath and said, "This is for Bo." She stepped forward and I was right on her heels, terrified of being left alone. We moved into the clearing and saw all 3 rocks. They were smooth on top and met in the center. There was no body on top. Slowly we circled around, looking on the sides, looking all around the clearing. The clearing was filled with white sand, almost like beach sand, with little pine trees and clumps of grass. Nothing to hide a body. One rock had a lip, so there was a space under it. It was big enough that a body could fit under it. I squatted down slowly and looked under the lip, then let out a breath as I saw straight through to the back of the rock. I stood up, looked at Allie, and she looked at me. I laughed. That psychic can bite me. "She did say you would be alone," Allie muttered, but I laughed again. Some of my brain cells were starting to function for the first time that day. She was wrong. Come on. Think about it. Dead bodies don't move around. If it's not here today, it's not going to be here tomorrow. "What if he's been alive in the woods and just hasn't died yet?" she mumbled. I hunted through my tired brain for reality. "I think we already established that Chris wouldn't know how to survive out here, and he had no friends who would hide him from his own parents. Besides, when I asked that psychic why nobody found him last Saturday, she didn't say he wasn't dead then. She said almost the opposite. She said, it was something eerie, but I couldn't remember. She said the dead don't want to be seen. Allie finished for me. She said the dead can hide until they are ready to be seen. Yo, reality check, I muttered. She's full of it. I don't even know what I'm doing here. To keep up my pretend courage, I jumped on top of the rocks and gazed all around the clearing. You could be standing on a grave marker, Allie said, watching me with wide eyes. Didn't that woman say the rocks marked an Indian grave? Don't be superstitious. If it is a grave, then occupants are dead. I looked down and lost my grin some. The three rocks met together, but there was a little hole in the center where they didn't fit just right. I watched it warily and finally got down on my knees slowly. I was afraid to stick my eye right up to it. Something could reach out and fling itself at me, a hand, a finger bone. Allie, check this out, I whispered. When she didn't answer, I looked around. She wasn't anywhere in the clearing. My eyes scanned the woods as my heart banged, and I glanced up at the sky for a falling body. Allie, I screamed and shot straight up. Allie, don't leave! I stepped onto the rock with the lip to jump down. I stepped on the lip too hard, and the rock faltered, tipping forward. I must have weighed more than when I was a kid. I heard Allie scream. I jumped to the ground and saw her lying under the lip. You don't have to squash me, she said. The rock dropped back down to its original place with a thud that gave me its weight to be almost a couple 100 pounds. I could have broken her rib cage. Oh, my God. Are you all right? I dropped down to my knees, hauling her out from under. I thought you left me. No, I just wanted to, see if I could see anything from under. Don't, I snapped. Alex and I never got under there. You know what lives under these rocks? Those giant sandworms you dissect in biology. Look, just stand here and don't move. Now that I knew she hadn't left, my nerve came back again. There's a hole between the three rocks. I want to look down at it. She crinkled up her face. There's no way for him to crawl in between these rocks. They fit together almost perfectly. Almost, I said. I just want to do the whole thing, whatever I meant by that. I jumped back up on the rocks, and without giving myself time to think about it, I knelt and looked down. The hole was pitch black. Allie put her hand on my ankle, and it made me less scared of being dragged under by ye old hand bone. I reached in. I could feel the floor of the clearing with the tips of my fingers. It was flat and smooth, like nothing could grow on top of the sand in the darkness there. I felt something rough, about the size of a baseball. I tried telling myself it wasn't a hand bone and got my fingers around it. I pulled it out, pine cone. I tossed it aside with a sigh and reached back in. I had to reach in up to my shoulder, and I could feel the hole was about 2 feet wide at the bottom, just big enough to fit my arm in at the top. It's too small for a body, I told her, to make myself feel better, and then my fingers touched something smooth. It felt like a thin piece of plastic. I pulled, but it seemed to be stuck between the rocks. I pulled some more. There's something else, I said, gritting my teeth. Just this one thing. It finally gave way, and I pulled it out. I sat there huffing, wiping the dirt off this piece of paper that had a plasticity feel to it. Plasticky feel to it. I saw some scribbling around a bunch of cartoon-type pictures. It looks like a map, and the handwriting on it seems familiar. Yeah, it's familiar, Allie agreed right away, like Creed's diary. I stood there frozen. Seeing this map was like hearing a voice from beyond the grave. It had to be the map Alex tried to tear that time he saw Chris coming out of here back when we were 12. You mean he laminated his treasure map? I remembered laughing so hard when I said that, but holding this dirty thing, it didn't seem so funny. It was a thin sort of lamination, so it still looked like paper. Chris must have shoved it down between the rocks 4 years ago, so his mother wouldn't find it and forgot about it or something. It was too eerie, too odd. We come here looking for the kid's dead body. We don't find a dead body, and yet something that once belonged to him shows up. The woods had been perfectly silent all morning, but out of nowhere the trees started to rustle. I looked up, and a strong breeze came along that took the map right out of my shaking fingers. It sailed out of my hand, hit the ground, then blew up and around and fell against a pine tree. I dropped down off the rocks and ran to retrieve it. When I got about 2 feet away, another gust came and whirled it into the forest. I could see it rolling from corner to corner on the forest floor as little gusts took it. I started after it, then stopped. Something was making me scared. Something about Indian ghosts. I could feel them. I stood there frozen, scanning the forest, knowing that Indian with the bow and arrow was out there, about to materialize right in my face again. I watched and waited until the breeze died away. I shut my eyes. You're just tired, I tried telling myself, but nothing could convince my feet to chase after that map into the forest. I turned and looked at Allie, and she looked at me. Let's get out of here, she said. She must have sensed something unusual, too, because she spun. Then we hightailed it back through the shadowy trail so fast that an Indian ghost would have had to run us down to scare us. I did actually fall asleep when we got home. In the family room, my dad had put on a Notre Dame game, and I saw the opening kickoff. It was daytime, plus a normal thing like a football game was on, and between that and my relief at not finding Creed's body, I just crashed out. Next thing I knew, my mom was shaking me, and it was late afternoon. I sat up and took the cordless she held out to me. It's Alex, she said. I felt all funky, like you feel when you fall dead asleep in the middle of the day and you wake up and don't even know if it's day or night. I took the phone in a daze. Hello? Hey, sound like you've been cutting logs. Yeah, neither, I told him, stretching some. What time's it? About 4:30. Tori, listen up. Can you meet me somewhere tonight? And don't bring Allie, okay? At that point, I remembered he was supposed to be mad at me. Fine. But are you going to have Renee with you? I just can't cope with her right now, Alex. He sighed, yeah. She's been a piece of work lately. No, I won't bring her. I just need to talk. Yeah, I understand. At least I thought I did. I thought he wanted to patch things up with me and not be so one-sided toward his girlfriend. Where? Well, definitely not my house, because Renee will be showing up here. And definitely not your house, because I don't want people hanging all over us. He sounded upset. Just meet me in the woods behind your house. We'll go walking. Fine, I said, stretching and yawning. But forget the old burial ground when we used to play as kids. We're not walking in there, okay? Whatever. What's up with the burial ground? I hesitated for a minute, then figured he needed some comic relief from whatever was bugging him. Some psychic told me last night that I would find Creed's body in there. I already looked. It's not in there. But hey, guess what I did find? Remember that time you punched him out over that stupid treasure map? I think I found the treasure map. You looked in there for Creed's body? He asked in amazement. Didn't sound like he was the least bit interested in the old map. Yeah, it's not in there. I could hear him breathing, and he finally said, You goddamn well better hope you looked hard enough. What are you talking about? Just meet me at 7, behind your house. I have to go. Renee's coming. I could hear him say, Hey, babe, just before the phone clicked. I stared at the receiver, feeling disgusted enough to let my head fall back down on the couch. He was just as scared of her as all the people she mouthed off to. What a wuss. He was afraid to let Renee know he was talking to me. I figured I'd straighten him out at 7. I met him back behind the fence, and he said, Bring a flashlight. It's getting dark. I don't want to stumble into that burial ground with you and discover Creed's body. I went in the garage and brought out a flashlight, getting irritated. Jesus, Alex, I said as we took off on a trail in the opposite direction from the burial ground. I thought you'd be all, oh my God, let's go find the body. Well, maybe I was, but now I'm not. I'm with you. It's not funny anymore. Yeah, I guess you heard about Chief Bowen. Renee says he told her mom the whole truth, like the whole truth. He really had been with Mrs. McDermott and a few other ladies, and it had been going on a long time. And he's moving out. He resigned after beating up Bo, but especially after beating him up, I guess he was even more afraid Bo would spew it all over town. He wanted Mrs. Bowen to hear the truth from him and not from somebody else. He's moving out? I repeated, trying to get a sense of reality about this. Mr. McDermott had moved out on Mrs. McDermott last year, and it had hardly been more than a shrug to me. This was personal. It was hard to think that me and Bo and Allie had the power to erase a 20-year marriage. Oh my God, I muttered. Yeah, it's ugly. The cell phone went off in his pocket, and he sighed, pulling it out and staring at it. Renee's All-A-Basket case She wanted to be with me, and I could see that, but I just had to talk to you. The only way I could get away to talk to you was to promise I would take her cell phone so she could call me anytime. Does she know you're with me? I asked, as he stared at the ringing phone. No way. Hello? He started jogging in place, lifting his legs so high that you could hear sticks cracking under his feet, crunching the air. He was breathing like he had been running. In about an hour. I want to do 5 miles, okay? I got to get in shape. Basketball practice starts in 2. He rolled his eyes. Okay, half an hour. I know. I'm sorry. Well, you can wig out on me at my house when I get there, okay? He was actually managing to get himself a little out of breath. He hung up. Alex, do you have to lie about being with me? I asked. Are you that scared of her? Right now, she could scare Frankenstein. She is far scarier than normal. I thought you really liked her. Well, put it this way. I like her when she's not being maniacal. I like her fun side, which is more and more sporadic these days. And that's actually why I'm bothering you. I mean, I'm still really pissed at you. Dissing your friends and girlfriend for Allie McDermott and Bo Richardson is totally weird, bro. But Renee's got it in for you. You are in deep shit. I might be pissed, but that doesn't mean I want to see you go to jail. My head jerked around so fast I ran neck. What are you talking about? Remember our fight in front of the Wawa 3 nights back? I nodded. Do you remember Bo Richardson saying he shot Chris Creed in the woods? I stood there confused. At first I muttered, you never said that. Then I vaguely remembered Bo making a joke right before he spilled the beans about Chief Bowen. How did we do it, Adams? We took a gun and shot him? Oh, that's right. I forgot. I took a gun and shot him and left him for dead in the woods. He was joking, I muttered, but Alex was blabbering nervously. Bo asked you how we did it, to which you responded something like, we shot him, meaning the two of you shot Chris Creed in the woods. I shook my head like a dog trying to get a straight thought. He was joking, I stammered. Well, we don't think he was. I watched him. Watched his eyes, waiting for them to laugh. They didn't. You think Bo Richardson and I shot Creed in the woods? I sounded like I was down a tunnel trying to shout but didn't have air. No, I don't think that. Renee thinks that. I think Richardson told you that he shot Creed in the woods and that you just knew about it after the fact. I got a fire in my gut that I thought would explode. I shoved him totally hard. I watched in awe as he stumbled backwards. It was a joke, Alex. I thought it up out of my own head. I was thinking of the Digger Haynes thing, where his dad supposedly took a gun into the woods. Something, I don't know. Bo jokingly asked me how we did it, and I just spewed out the first thought that came into my head. Alex looked totally confused, like he'd had this pat little theory going and I had foiled it. But he still didn't want to give it up. His mouth was moving in a panic, and his lips were all shaky. Well, Renee was right there in front of him, and she thinks he was dead serious. I'm just concerned about you. I need to know. Did he tell you this beforehand? And did you think he was joking? Because if you thought he was joking, then you're not an accessory to I hauled off and slapped him, sending him flying into a tree. You guys are not stupid. You know that was a joke. What the hell are you guys trying to pull? Alex screamed in my face. Richardson wasn't joking about the second thing he popped out with, about Chief Bowen and Mrs. McDermott, so we don't think he was joking about the first thing either. I'm just trying to save your ass. You've got to tell me that Richardson merely told you, and you thought he was joking. That stupid cell phone went off again. I stared at it, in awe of this girl's superhuman nerve, and tried to talk louder than it. Damn it, Alex, I'm telling you, I thought of the thing about shooting Creed off the top of my head. No, 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 he muttered around that ringing. I thought of Mrs. Creed in the cafeteria. No, no, no. Christopher did not write that note. He stared at the ground. He couldn't look at me. I wanted to put his head through a tree. Why can't you believe me? I shoved him again. What? Does it destroy your whole version of reality, Alex? Let me tell you reality. Renee is pissed that Bo spewed about her dad's sex life. And she's pissed at me for standing up for him. Maybe she can't admit the truth to herself. But she just wants revenge. She knows a goddamn joke when she hears one. No, 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 he just kept saying. Well, guess what? You're in as big a state of denial as Creed ever was. I'm just trying to help you, he hollered back. Renee just told the cops that Bo confessed to her. She told them, I heard it too. I'm just trying to save you from... I thought if that phone rang one more time, I would go insane. God damn it, Alex yelled. He punched the line all wide-eyed and confused and said, hello? Give me that thing. I snatched it from him despite him hollering, no. Renee, what the hell are you trying to pull? You are so goddamn selfish. Why don't you wake up? What are you doing there? She recognized my voice somehow, though I don't think I ever screamed at her before. I'm here. Why don't you drag your ass over here and say your stupid lies to my face? You know that was a joke, that thing Bo said. It was not a joke. Her voice cracked, and for once she didn't have any attacks. She just let the silence hang, and I could hear her sniffing and crying. I was glad. Go ahead and cry. It's your guilt making you cry, you lying sack of... She blasted out a string of what I could do to myself. You could go to hell. I'm telling the cops you knew. I'm telling them Richardson confessed to us, and Alex heard it, and we both heard you too. Now get out of my life. I was going to tell her she would never pass off a lie like that, but she had hung up. I watched Alex stare at me all terrified, and it struck me, like an oncoming train, that maybe she could pull off a lie like that. If she could confuse Alex, who had known me since forever, she could confuse other people. I don't know what to believe, he said. His voice was cracking like he might cry. I almost believe you, okay? But what are you doing now? Talking about some psychic? Saying Creed is buried in the woods? It sounds really fishy, Tori. What do you mean? It sounds to me like you're warming up some cock and bull story so you can get the body found. Maybe because you know where the body is and it's bothering your conscience too bad, and you want to get it found without it looking bad for you and Richardson? Oh, go to hell, I screamed. You're insane. He stormed off down the trail, leaving me heavy rocks and sticks after him until a fire lit up in my shoulder socket. I flung myself down on the ground and bawled my eyes out. I wondered if I could go to jail. Even if I didn't, I knew I might live with that question mark hanging over my head and other people's eyes forever. Was Adams involved? Since there's no body, no evidence, how will we ever know for sure he wasn't? I stood up. I didn't even realize where I was going until I looked down at the flashlight in my hand and saw that I had turned it on. I think half of it was a rational thought. If Chris Creed's body was found, just maybe there would be a huge suicide note in his pocket, in his own handwriting. Or maybe whatever he used to kill himself had his fingerprints all over it. Or maybe a time of death could be determined, and if Bo and I were both covered at that time, maybe. The psychic said I would be alone. Well, I was alone. All right. That was chapter 20 in the body of Christopher Creed.